Yoruba and Igbo separatists team up, vow to divide Nigeria. A coalition of Yoruba and Igbo self-determination groups under the banner of the coalition to De-Almagamate Nigeria for Security, quotes, has declared a formal alliance aimed at the peaceful de-amalgamation of Nigeria, arguing that the country's worsening insecurity, deepening mistrust, and unresolved historical grievances make continued coexistence untenable. A coalition for the amalgamation and security quotes an alliance of indigenous civil forces and ethnic nationalities declared that Nigeria's continued existence under its current structure is unsustainable, insisting that peaceful self-determination is now the only viable path to security, justice, and lasting peace. The declaration was made on Friday in a communique at the end of a world conference and press briefing held via Zoom, during which the coalition accused the Nigerian state of surviving not on truth, justice, or consent, but on systemic denial of institutionalized falsehood while failing to protect lives amid widespread violence and humanitarian crisis. The communique was issued and signed by leading figures of the Yoruba and Igbo self-determination movement, including Professor Banji Akintoye, leader of the Oduduwa Yoruba Nation Self-Determination Movement, Chief Sunday Adeyemo Igboho, leader of the Yoruba National Community Defense, Architect George Akinola, deputy leader of the Yoruba Self-Determination Movement Homeland, and Dr. Kayode Emola, deputy leader of the Yoruba Self-Determination Movement Diaspora. Also signatories to this communique were Mazi Tony Nwisi, chairman of the Igbo Global Network, IPOB Mazi Emmanuel Kanu, Mazi Ositadinma Igenu, and Professor Chinedu Agbodike, all delegates and members of IPOB, acting under the umbrella of the coalition to De-Almagamate Nigeria for Security. Addressing the international media, Coates said the alliance was a historic moral and security imperative, stressing that it was neither extremist nor violent, or our collaboration reflects not extremism, but exhaustion with lies and insecurity, and a lawful insistence on dignity, safety, and political consent, the coalition said. It added that the De-Almagamation Congress was open to all indigenous nations within Nigeria and constituted a non-violent, lawful, and internationally recognized exercise of self-determination. The coalition accused successive Nigerian government of concealing mass atrocities and misleading both citizens and the international community. This culture of deception has replaced accountability and rendered the Nigerian state incapable of protecting lives or commanding moral legitimacy. The communique stated, warning that insecurity has hardened into a crisis of state legitimacy in which fear replaces citizenship. Tracing Nigeria's instability to colonial amalgamation and post-colonial centralization, Coates argues that the 1914 amalgamation was imposed without consent and entrenched an unequal power structure. A state founded without consent cannot indefinitely survive against consent, the group declared, adding that decades of systemic corruption, political exclusion, and insecurity had left many communities with no confidence in the federal system. The communique devoted significant attention to violence in the Middle Belt, the Southeast, and other regions, alleging state complicity or inactions in the face of attacks by armed groups. Across large swaths of Nigeria, communities have been violently uprooted from their ancestral lands, yet perpetrators are rarely prosecuted and victims are rarely resettled, Coates said. He described the situation as an existential security crisis marked by terrorism, displacement, and selective justice. Coates also condemned what he describes as the persecution of peaceful self-determination advocates, adding that while violent actors roam free, peaceful advocates such as Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and Chief Sunday Igboho are pursued with extraordinary state resources, calling this selective application of law a factor that has destroyed public trust in the Nigerian state. Invoking international law, the coalition insisted that its demands was legitimate and grounded in the UN Charter. the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. Peaceful self-determination is the only immediate, non-violent escape route from looming catastrophe. The communique said, warning that a full-scale conflict in Nigeria would trigger a humanitarian and migration crisis of global proportions. Among its formal demands, Codes called for international recognition of the Biafra and Oduduwa nation, the immediate release of all detainees held solely for self-determination advocacy, an end to the pursuit of Chief Sunday Igbo, and a UN-recognized referendum process for all indigenous nations seeking self-rule. It also urged international investigations into mass mines and alleged state complicity and protection for vulnerable communities. The coalition, however, stressed that the Biafra-Oduduwa alliance was not a declaration of war, but a declaration of truth, dignity, and peaceful intent. First, unity has failed, silence has failed, repression has failed. Self-determination is the only remaining path to lasting peace, stability, and regional security, it added. Okay, now, Grace Chinye says, now you people are making a valid point. This border needs to be marked for any meaningful solution to the quagmire on ground. People should be free to improve according to their culture and resources, without fear of intimidation. Do you get? Without fear of intimidation from any section. Godwin says the amalgamation should have been done well before now. It is not too late. All parties concerned should bury their grievances and work towards the goal. Some people do not want that thing. The amalgamation, they don't want, they are benefiting a lot from this confusion called Nigeria. Like, we know that living together is no longer working. Let's separate. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but some people do not want it to happen because of what they want to eat, because of what they will get. It's not too late. It's really not too late. It's imperative to add that while the South should be decoupled from the North, the South should not be reduced to the dual Biafra nations unless the South-South conglomerate of ethnic minorities is given its rightful place and recognized as a unit of its own. Then the arrangement is a waste of time and will never work. Steve Chu says, one who is at the forefront of this coalition. Why now? Question mark, you can ask them. Why now? Divine says, anyone that I've heard in lobbying and covering the evil in Nigeria is a terrorist. Congressman, okay? Gesso B377 says, the blood of innocent ones sprinkled and injustice given to Kanu will continue to create chaos and problem until Nigeria totally collapses and regarded as a rubbished country. Okay? My listeners, don't forget to like, to share, to subscribe. Thank you for listening. See you some other time. Bye.